Gradually, many behavioral scientists began to acknowledge that fathers should not be overlooked in child development and family studies, and especially in studies of parental acceptance rejection. The inception and at times almost surprised and grudging recognition of this fact began in the 1960s and 1970s because of a convergence of three sources of influence. First, as we noted earlier, spotty evidence was already mounting about the importance of fathers and father love, but behavioral scientists had been able to ignore the evidence fairly successfully until later. Second, the advent of the feminist movement with its call for gender equality in the workplace and partner equity in the home led eventually to a re-examination of the cultural construction of feminine gender identity. Re-examination of the meaning of femininity soon called for a re-examination of its counterpoint, masculine gender identity. This interest in gender role redefinition was fueled by the fact that mothers with children were entering the out-of-home workforce in unprecedented numbers. In 1960, for example, fewer than 40% of American mothers worked out of the home, but by 1972, almost 50% were doing so, Biller, 1993. By 1997, 68% of the mothers in the United States with children less than 18 years old were engaged in full-time or part-time employment, Child Trends, 2000. As greater numbers of mothers began working, the feminist movement called for fathers to become more involved in childcare and household tasks, Biller, 1993, Bronstein and Cowan, 1988, Griswold, 1993. To be successfully accomplished, these changes required a partial redefinition of traditional male and female gender roles, Jane, Belsky and Knick, 1996, Mackey, 1996. This in turn brought the role of fathering and the influence of father love into sharp research focus, McCoby and Martin, 1983. For the first time, some behavioral scientists became keenly motivated to study fathers directly, Bronstein and Cowan, 1988, Givians and Robinson, 1985, Park, 1985. It is not a purpose here to try to fully disentangle the snarled web of competing social, political, economic, and cultural forces associated with the feminist movement that eventually politicized fatherhood in America, Griswold, 1993. Here we simply want to recognize that as a direct as well as indirect result of the feminist movement, many behavioral scientists began to study fathers and father love directly. And when they did, they found that fathers are as capable as mothers of being competent and nurturant caregivers, Bronstein and Cowan, 1988, Silverstein and Auerbach, 1999. They also found that the father-child bond often parallels the mother-child bond both emotionally and in intensity, Fox, Kimmerly, and Schaefer, 1991, Hansen and Bossert, 1991. A number of the studies reviewed subsequently continued to show, as in earlier decades, that fathers' influence was as great as mothers for specific developmental outcomes. But it was not until the 1990s that the third source of influence came into full play, causing many behavioral scientists to fully recognize that fathers should be included in studies dealing with parent-child relations. This source of influence derived from research results based on readily accessible, easily used, and powerful multivariate statistical packages. Use of multivariate statistics, including multiple regression and structural equation modeling, SEM, allowed investigators to control simultaneously for the influence of a variety of variables. In doing so, researchers discovered that father love sometimes explains a unique independent portion of the variance in specific child outcomes, over and above a portion of variance explained by mother love. Indeed, some studies reviewed later found that father love is the sole significant predictor of specific child outcomes, after removing the influence of mother love.